A book has to have a beginning, middle, and end. In my life story, I've always felt like I've had half the beginning and a little bit of the middle. You see, I'm adopted. I grew up in a white world just over on the east side. I grew up in a well-off family with two nice mothers and money. In my neighborhood, no one looks like me, but I was always told the truth about my adoption, so that's all that really mattered. I was always told that my mom gave me up because she loved me, because she had no choice, because she had to. But for some reason, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't understand why would she give me up if she loved me. It just didn't make sense to me. But if you love someone, why do you let them go? You know, we have the information. We can try to find her. I heard that more times than I can even count. It's nice to know that we have the information, but what good will a couple of scribbles on a page do? About 3 years ago, I was looking through just a pile of papers and I stumbled upon the paper with the information, a piece of loose leaf with an address and a name. But what I didn't think would ever be there was a picture. As soon as I saw the picture of my mom, I started to cry. It was uncontrollable. I couldn't stop. I felt so awful for saying anything bad about her, for hating her for giving me up, but it was still there. It was still there. I just never thought that I'd see her face after 14 long years. This past year was the worst for me. I felt awful in so many ways. My grades were the worst they'd ever been, even though I was trying the hardest. I was tired of school, tired of trying, and just tired of life. I'd wake up, get dressed, and put on a fake smile. But when I was alone, that's when it took hold of me. I'd cry myself to sleep thinking, why was I put here? Please wake me up somewhere else. Please, I don't want to be here anymore. Then it came, the little voice in the back of my head, the thing I thought I would never think about in my entire life, saying, die. Just kill yourself. No one's gonna miss you. I wasn't ready, but looking back on it, I'm not sure I ever would have been. It was the day that Theo and I went to try to find my mom. Thanks to some prior digging Theo did, we knew the general direction of the village. All we had was the paper I found 3 years ago, with a name, an address, and a photo. We just start driving in the general direction of the village. Along the way, we ask people, do you know of this place? Which direction is it? It's about a 3.5-hour drive. The further we got, the poorer it became. After 3.5 hours or so, we got to this village. It's a small T in the road, and for a second, I really couldn't believe that this was it. On one side, there's a school. On the other, there's a road stretching into the jungle with 2 houses on the side. Well, this is it. We get out of the car. We go up to a woman who's making bread and ask, do you know who this is? She says no. For a second, my heart sunk. I thought we'd just get back in the car and take another 3.5-hour drive back. But then a man on the other side of the street said, who are they looking for? In a matter of 10, 15 minutes, 20 to 30 people have all somehow appeared. The whole village just came out of nowhere, all wondering who we were looking for. We kept showing the picture and no one knew who it was, but they could all agree on one thing, that I was that woman's son. Every time I'd smile, they'd always start laughing because they said it was exactly the same as hers. That felt really good to hear, that I was her son. Because for the longest time, I started to question it myself. Finally, someone says, "Oh, I do know who that is. I'm the woman who bought your mom's land." It was a woman wearing a purple shirt and floral pants. She said, "We know her as Ot, which is the onomatopoeia for pig in Khmer." Someone then said, "Oh, your aunt lives just down the road." After she said Ot, it seemed like everyone knew who she was. But my aunt comes and then she says, "Oh, I'm actually your step-aunt, but I do know where your aunt is." She calls someone and they go and get my aunt. She comes here, embraces me and says, "Oh, you stand just like your sister." I have a sister? It's just so overwhelming. It's so hard to believe that this is even happening. Then she says, "Your mom is 1.5 hours away." I remember staring straight into space, trying not to cry, because I knew if I started, I wouldn't be able to stop. After hearing how close she was, I became scared. I didn't know how she was going to react, and even if she wanted to see me. We get in the car and we're about to get underway. My aunt looks at a seatbelt like it's a foreign object. In Cambodia, road signs are just a mere suggestion. Stoplights really don't matter, and if there's a blockage in the road, we'll just go on the sidewalk and go around it. Traffic never stops and no one wears a seatbelt. So I jokingly said, "What, she's never worn a seatbelt before?" So Gita says, "No, she's never been in a car before." With the first time in a car comes car sickness. My aunt maybe made it about 20 minutes before she started throwing up. And I was on the passenger side window, so I saw it all. Half-digested rice and water. What she said was a 1.5 hour drive turned out to be a 2 and 25 minutes. Sometimes the minutes would go by like seconds because I was very excited. Sometimes they'd go by like years. I didn't know how she was going to react. Was I actually wanted? How was I going to react? All these questions just kept going off in my head. Finally, we turned down a dirt road. We drive along this road for maybe 10-15 minutes and we finally get to this house and I see a woman standing at the edge of the driveway waiting. As soon as I saw her, I know who it was. She ran to me and we embraced. From that moment on, all the hate, resentment, and sadness that I had stored up in me towards her disappeared. From that moment on, it was nothing but love. When we embraced, she said a lot of things. She said, my son, you've returned finally. I've missed you." And at the time, I didn't know what she said because I can't understand Khmer, but in a way I did, because love transcends languages, boundaries. It transcends everything. We go in the house. My grandfather's the man on the floor. We pulled out a mat and bowed to him. She introduced me to him and said thank you. She had so many questions for me. Who was I with? Was I okay? Were they treating me right? How was I doing? I answered all of them as truthfully as I could. But I only had one question for her. Why? Why did she give me up? She told me this story. I moved to Phnom Penh because I thought there would be more opportunities there. It turns out there wasn't. When I was 7 months pregnant with you, your father left for another woman. I joined a women's help group just to get by. When you were born, they asked me if I wanted to put you up for adoption. I said no. But times got harder. I was working a job, but I had you. So when they asked the second time, I said yes. My hands were shaking when I gave you over. And for days, for weeks, for months, I cried. I prayed for you. I prayed that you'd be okay. I prayed that one day you'd find me, that Buddha and all the gods would pull mountains apart to clear a path to me. I named you Saksamnang so you'd bring luck and fortune to those who'd adopted you. So you'd bring luck and fortune to those around you. so you bring luck and fortune to yourself. We talked for maybe 2.5 hours, but it became time to leave. None of us wanted to leave, but we had to. Then my mom says, well, I have friends back in Phnom Penh. I could stay with them. We asked the driver and he says, yes, we can take her. We got out to the car and my mom jumps in. And then my stepdad and sister jump in too. So this car is a standard 5-seat car. And we have 6 people in it. 4 in the back, 2 in the front. Now this car isn't great. And my sister and mom get sick. So Theo gives my sister a Dramamine, but my mom is sat there with nothing. This car ride is the craziest car ride I've ever had. In Cambodia, there's not a lot of street lights, so we're driving down a really dark road for 5 hours. The oncoming cars don't turn off their bright lights. The window on my side is broken. The driver is partially nearsighted, and the AC unit is kind of just blowing hot air. Many times during the ride, I looked at my reflection in the window, wanting to make sure that this was real. This was happening to me. This was happening to me. We got back at like 1 or 2 in the morning, and then I called my family back in the US. I told one of my moms that she was right, 98% right about everything she told me about my mom. That I was put up for adoption because she had to, because she had no other choice. I was given up because she loved me. That night, I told my mom I loved her for the first time in 4 years. That night, I felt at peace. And from that night forward, the thought of suicide has never crossed my mind again. I'm proud. I'm proud to stand before you as who I am. I'm proud that I grew up where I did. I'm proud that I'm adopted. And I'm ready. I'm ready to face life for what it is. All the upsides it has, downsides, happy, sad, all the sides. My story is complete, at least the beginning of it. That piece that was missing has been put back into place. I'm ready to face the future and all that it holds. Thank you.